I'm really glad to have the opportunity to speak with Ken. I've known Ken for several years when he was at Chia and since then, and I'm really excited to kind of get him to share his journey. Ken, I'm not one for idle small talk, so let me just dive into it, right? Um,
Sure.
what gave you the idea for Julia Social, and then how did you turn that into the primary focus on Not.Bot to begin with?
Well, so um, honestly, I think everybody has sort of this nagging feeling that the all the companies are busy gathering data about us and tracking us all over the internet, and we're at this point we're basically numb to all of the breaches and the amount of our data that's getting lost. I One of the things I like to say is that it's almost like we're in a post-PII world. Any of these websites that say, hey, you know, which of these addresses did you used to live at? Well, I mean, that's out there. It's like on essentially all of us, and it's hard to break free. But and so using that for identity is kind of hard. But separately, really, the project with the Climate Action Data Trust, right? So I think probably everybody on this call knows that project. They We built a thing for countries to interact as peers. There is no server. The version of the version of the same system they'd built years ago prior had a central server, and countries objected to the way it was run, and eventually that project failed. Climate Action Data Trust is succeeding where it had failed because all of the different countries and organizations that participate are doing so as peers. That's a huge win, and that was based on data layer and sort of these notions of blockchain and self sovereignty and looking at countries being self sovereign. Kind of all came together, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if people could do that? And that's good and all on the blockchain, but you have a serious problem with privacy. So how do you do identity in a privacy way? But I had a notion it could be done, and so the first
Hmm.
step was figuring out the how does it get done on chain. Blah 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 blah. I've It took me longer than I'd like to admit, but I got there. And then the next question is, well, so how do we deal with privacy? And I started going down the road of zero knowledge proofs and
Hmm.
multi-party compute. And at the same time, as I started thinking more about identity, I was really, getting, reading everything I could from the Decentralized Identity Foundation. And Christopher Allen in particular, to whom actually Gene had introduced me. And just, just going deep down that rabbit hole. And then one day I sort of had this moment, oh, I've got it. I figured out how to use multi-party computation to be able to correctly ensure actual privacy, where privacy includes privacy from me, right? So
Hmm.
my company is not itself a privacy leak. That was the eureka moment. That was like, oh my gosh, I have to do that.
Right.
And but even still, right, it's one thing to realize, wow, I have this thing in my hand, this idea, I know what to do, and a separate thing to say, and I'm going to set aside this job and this income, and of course, I'm still in the Chia ecosystem because I'm a huge fan of the technology, and set that aside, a job at Chia, right? Not just
Yeah.
a job, but a job at Chia, um, to go off into the wild blue yonder, with no income for a while, 14 months now, to find a way to build this thing and bring it to the world. I realized
Hmm.
it was incredibly valuable. It's something that I had to do.
Oh, that's great. Ken, let me take you back to something that you said. You
Ah.
said that we're in a post-PII world.
Mm.
Tell me the implications of that. And if you then move to a peer-to-peer identity revealing and verification, how does that change? So let's start with just the higher level concept of what do you mean by we're in a post-PII world in terms of implications?
So this is a really deep rabbit hole of philosophy, but we'll try and keep it keep to the question. The one concept of identity is a list of facts and figures, right? Birth date, name, blah blah blah, the stuff on your birth certificate, all the way down to your shoe size, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a notion of identity. The other notion of identity is who you are and what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first is PII. That's the information about you. That's the information on your passport.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the the other is really, I think, a better notion of identity to be
Mm-hmm.
able to say, I am what I do, right?
Mm.
And um, we need the one, this notion of PII and being able to establish a unique human in the
Mm-hmm.
world. But really, it would be great to have a separate notion of identity in terms of this is how I interact with the world and this is what I mean to the world.
Okay. Um, so let's go into the PII section because or perspective because certainly passports are a way in which you're enabling the Not.Bot system. Talk a little bit about why use passports, and I think of that as one of the most sacred PII pieces of information that I have. So
Yeah.
whenever I go to a hotel somewhere and they say, "Can I have your passport?" My first answer is no. Right? So tell
Right.
me, why did you choose passports? And I think I understand that. But then why should I or anyone using Notbot feel comfortable that I am now sharing my passport information into this system, which I understand is decentralized? So take us through that journey. Why passports, and why shouldn't I freak out that now you have access to my passport?
Well, so I need a way to distinguish one human from another, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order, at the very least, for example, for recovery, if you've lost your phone or whatever and you need to recover, well, having some kind of way to say, "Hey, I'm the same person," is really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what the passports do. But from my perspective, it's actually kind of a you know it's an easy way for people to enroll. There's a lot of people worldwide who have passports,
Mm-hmm.
probably deeper percentage in other countries than the U.S., but still, we have. Uh, but it's a thing that people can do at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can establish your identity as a unique human in the world, doing a thing that doesn't require a tremendous amount of effort or cost on your part. Um, because it's the more friction you put in, the harder it is to get people to do. But really, thinking about what Notbot is for, what we need to get to is in-person verification. I need a person standing in front of another person. And so that's the key thing. But the important thing really is, that we don't store any data, right? Your data stays on your device, and we process it once just to identify that you're a unique human, and then discard it. The key
Let's
thing about the passport data is that we don't store it, right?
Right.
It's I can't lose it, I can't sell it, I can't do anything with it that you don't want because I literally don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's That's actually a really, really hard thing to do because I have to sign new credentials periodically. And like if you create a new alias, or if you go from being under 18 to over 18 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's a new credential that needs to be signed. So the really, really tricky part about that was, doing the multi-party computation to make sure that we can do that without having the data. Like truly don't have enough pieces of data to reassemble that information, even if we wanted to. My objective is to get that audited. That requires a bit more money. That will take a bit more
Mm-hmm.
time in market and whatnot to be able to accomplish. But that is, for the moment, that is what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a key thing to what we're doing.
Got it. No, I appreciate that. And the fact that you're not storing any of the information, just walk someone through how that works, right? Peer to peer, probably on this call, everybody understands it, but for posterity, if someone says, well, you're the centralized entity that is issuing the Notbot, but you're not storing all my information. In the least technical way, can you tell us how that works?
Sure, in the least technical way. So, to be clear, Julia Social, the company, is just the issuer of privacy-preserving credentials. The actual identities are fully on-chain, but they are sitting there naked without any credentials. So there's no information about who the people are.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we do it? That gets kind of deep with multi-party computation. I think the key thing is just to remember that um, the key thing we focus on is to make sure that there are not enough pieces of information. You imagine like a puzzle, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough pieces of the puzzle in my hands to be able to assemble it and say Vishal, right? The remaining piece is sitting on your phone, and so
Mm-hmm.
while I can look at my pieces and I can sign my pieces, I can
Mm-hmm.
then hand something to you that you can add your piece and sign that and hand it off to a third person to verify that credential. And it's like, oh, okay, now I see the chain of signatures
Mm-hmm.
showing all of the pieces of the puzzle, and now I know Vishal. Now I have the name Vishal.
Okay, makes sense. So talk to us about some of the use cases where people would use this.
So, wow. Obviously, the key one that we're launching with is the idea of being able to sign content, be able to show you're not a bot. The online world has gotten to where there's enough bot accounts, that are, serving some purpose for someone you don't know who it is, and who are pretending to be humans in order to accomplish those purposes. There are deep fakes where people are actively using tools to go create media and other content for some purpose that appears to be someone else, right? Basically trying to leverage and steal someone else's identity. Um, so that's where we start. That's a huge problem that everybody is aware of, that we can address. Right. But the fast follow is, being able to show you're over 18, for example, or over
Mm-hmm.
13, right? So social media in the US is in various states potentially going to get locked down to people who can prove they're over 13.
Right.
YouTube now is feeding everything that you do on YouTube and potentially with your entire Google account to decide if it can guess that you are potentially under 18.
Mm-hmm.
And they that's terrifying. And it's difficult, right? So it means that all of these companies have to start gathering yet more information about us, and then your information is everywhere. And they're not masking it, they're not hiding it from themselves. They're going to make use of it, right? um, what if we had a privacy preserving way to just say, hey, I'm over 18, and it's
Mm-hmm.
easy for you to verify that? Like it's literally just an API call into a widget that I can provide that will read a Notbot. Oh, you can verify this person's over 18. Easy to implement, easy to use, and now the companies that need to verify you're over 18 can do so, right? So that is where we're going next.
Um, Talk to me a little bit about um, Chia. What is it about Chia that was unique or differentiated that you had to use Chia?
Everything. Right?
Okay, give
So,
me the top three things.
I'm not sure I even have a top three. So Chia Lisp. The top three things. Massive decentralization, right? I can, if I need to go check the blockchain for something, I'm going to go check a specific coin or two.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to do it through a centralized server, that server is going to know exactly what coins I'm checking and can guess why I might be checking those. And the monitoring there then becomes very real. When you've got 40,000 nodes worldwide, and you can just pick a few at random and go each and every time you can go pick a few new ones and go check the coins you need to. There isn't any one organization that is capable of tracking you. That's really powerful. The other thing is that you can run your own node, and then you don't have to go outside of devices that you own to be able to check that to be able to function as an independent person on the internet. So that's one way to avoid tracking. The other really big one is CoinSet and Chia Lisp, right? Those
Mm-hmm.
things are radically different from anything else out there, right? And because of that, honestly enables all of the stuff that we're doing on chain. Um, it's there's a tremendous number of pieces there, from the fact that it's a functional programming language to the fact that you can create singletons. They used to call me Ken Singleton at Chia, as you probably know,
Mm-hmm.
who's a baseball player, which kind of makes it funny. But then the way that you can pass around entire spend bundles and validate them without actually using much of the data on chain is really powerful. And then the other big one is BLS. I think I went over three. Sorry.
No, no, that's
The
okay.
idea that you can take a collection of signed things and merge all those signatures into one thing that can't later be broken apart is massive, right? For being able to protect privacy. So anyway, I guess that's the shortest version that I have.
No, that's great. Um, Ken, I'm going to continue to try to abstract to a layman level, just because it's not that this audience doesn't fully understand all the technical pieces that you're talking about. I think it's where I'm trying to get at is, if I'm a layman,
Hmm.
I am increasingly concerned about my identity being stolen.
Hmm.
And the other piece is I'm constantly online and being asked to prove that I am who I say I am. So from
Hmm.
that perspective, the fact that I'm proving that I'm not just not a bot, but I'm proving that I am a human. And when I am in this peer-to-peer relationship, then I'm revealing which human I am.
Hmm.
What is it that is unique about Julius Social's approach over other systems that will tell you, don't worry about it, we have you covered already?
Well, so I mean, we got to go talk about what the other systems are. There's,
Sure.
full KYC systems. There's, you could do, talk about like Clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn uses Clear. There's World ID. There's a bunch of those things where, there is a company that knows everything about you, and they basically attest to you are a unique human.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you're using systems like that, they, like there's the ability to be tracked, that is probably undesirable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're trying to make something where that tracking is completely avoidable, even by me. One of the things that I often think about is, what happens if I get hacked? Um,
Mm-hmm.
do I have data about what people are doing, and do I have, what data do I have? The What happens when a new CEO takes over? What do they
Mm-hmm.
inherit? and what can they do with it?
Hmm.
So it's a, those are the issues that I really worry about. I don't think I fully answered your question. So let's
No,
try.
no, let's dig into it a little bit, right? It's not that you didn't. I think this is a great start. I think the question that's going through um, someone who says, well, Clear seems to do everything that I, need. And yes, there's always a risk of something centralized getting hacked, but it hasn't happened in so many years. If it's good enough for the government, why isn't it good enough for me, right? If the government says I can go through TSA using Clear, then why isn't it good enough? So what I'm trying to um, give the audience a sense, or hope that you can give them a sense for, is outside of this thing that I can't trust a central entity, what are some of the things that you are returning back to me as the individual who's participating with a Not.Bot?
What are the things I'm returning back? So I'm returning back the ability to own your own identity, right? It's when you have a system that owns your identity separately, they can control where you use it. If Clear switches you off for some reason, well, you're done. You're not
Mm-hmm.
traveling, right? Or at least you're not traveling through the Clear lane anyway.
Right.
Or you get switched off at LinkedIn or wherever else that they get used. It's a if that um, I want to make sure that you're able to be um, able to go around without worrying about censorship,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
without being able to be tracked. One of the nice things about my not having any data about you is that I can't turn off your account because I
Right.
don't know who you are. I
Mm-hmm.
don't even have your Apple ID. It might be an Apple account, but I don't even have your Apple ID.
Yeah.
Um, it's
But by the way, that's exactly what I was trying to get to. So I'm glad you're covering it the way you are.
Yeah. So there's nothing I can do. It's one of the things that the identity community spends a lot of time talking about is governance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of governance issues that go away when you don't have data, right?
Right.
There's an argument that data is power, and so power needs governance. But if you don't have data, right, you don't have those powers, and there's less governance required. Obviously, we need to make sure that we're
Yeah.
maintaining our.
Yeah. By
Yep.
the way, centralized data is power, right? Aggregated
Mm.
data is power, and the fact that you're decentralizing it makes perfect sense. Let's get into some of the choices that you made as you rolled out Notbot. So one of the things was that you integrated the wallet functionality into the app rather than use an external wallet.
Mhm.
Um, Tell us a little bit about why that is the case, and then can I imagine a future in which I can move my credential that's within, within Julia Social, within Notbot, into my standard wallet? But start with, why did you choose to integrate it into the app?
So the reason it's in the app, the reason that the wallet is in the app is to make it really easy to use. It's when you bring up the app, and I'm sorry, it's not in the App Store quite yet. But when you bring up the app, you have to look really hard to be able to figure out that it's using a blockchain at all. And that's by design. There's a lot of people that as soon as you tell them that they have to use a crypto wallet, they're out. Right? It's 24 words, and oh my gosh, if I lose my 24 words, I irrevocably lose my assets, or in this case, lose my identity or identities. That's really, really dangerous or really scary to a lot of folks, and so they'll step aside. But if instead it's a very normal looking app, and you can use it in a very normal way, and it just happens to use the right kind of a backend for what it's doing. Well, that's great. I mean, it's one of the examples I often use is that nobody knows or cares what database Uber is using except for the people inside Uber.
Mm-hmm.
With the rest of us, we just assume Uber uses the thing that makes most sense for Uber. We're done. And that's the same thing here. Is that there is one blockchain that does what we want it to do, and that is Chia, and so we just use it. Um, can we extract things out? Well, no, because the app protects the connection between the identity and the person, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the app associates it with you. It checks for your system passcode or your biometric if you let it regularly, just to make sure that it's the right person who's using it. But that doesn't mean it can't be a signer, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
if you want to talk about, assets, well, okay, signing a Chia transaction is not is perfectly reasonable. We have keys to do that with that identity. We can even do that with certain credentials attached. It's easy to imagine a KYC credential because the credentials are exactly the same on chain and off chain. It's literally the same sequence of bytes
Mm-hmm.
for a credential. So presenting it on chain as a part of a transaction is a very reasonable thing to do.
Makes sense. Um, so tell us where things are today. What can we do to help you? What does the next month, quarter look like for you?
Um, okay, well, so where things are today, the we were a little behind where we thought we would be, and so we submitted our first. We had done 5 different beta builds that all got approved by Apple. So we thought we were in pretty good shape for getting it through to release to the App Store. When we requested it released to the App Store, there were a few more things they picked up. Okay, so we're just going through those. It's little stuff. It's not like there's some
Mm-hmm.
fundamental issue. It's this little stuff we have to go deal with.
Yep.
So we're hoping to be able to get the next build out to Apple for the App Store with everything dealt with that they asked for. Hopefully tomorrow. um, so what would I ask of this group is really, once you have the app, enroll and start creating stickers, put them places, talk about it. Talk about it with people who are not inside our own little echo chamber, but
Mm-hmm.
and not just inside the Chia community, because this is not a Chia community only thing. This is something anybody can use,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a real problem that many, many people worldwide have. So we should be able to, hey, look, I have the ability to prove who I am, prove that I'm human. I have the
Mm-hmm.
ability to sign documents. Aside from signing documents, of course, you can just put the proof that a human owns an account, right, on your X account or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
There's getting them out there is critical. It's we have to get to a certain critical mass to get the network effects going, and the way we get there is people using it.
Makes sense. I'm gonna pause a second and see if there are any questions coming in. If not, then we'll continue the conversation. Anybody, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat, and um, I can bring that up with Ken. Anyone? Anyone who's here wants to offer to integrate this, um, or connect Ken to getting this integrated into places like YouTube and X, the ones that he's mentioned, or even, um, even more focused entities. Maybe, Ken, as we're waiting for those questions, maybe something you can talk about, right? In one of your webinars, you talked about the fact that there's a lot of phishing going on, whether it's dating apps. Talk to me about how someone on a dating app, right, would use this, and how would a dating app integrate this?
Okay, so the really cool thing about Julia Social, as opposed to any other digital identity or proof of human out there, is that you can use it on the internet as it exists today.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, in a dating app, someone reaches out to you. Okay, you can say, well, hey, you know, I'm a human. Here's a sticker proving that I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you include your age range and your gender, just to say, hey, there's, nationality, maybe even, look, I'm actually an American, for if you're attempting to date folks in America. They include that in and send it in a direct message. Can you please respond in kind? Right now, you have a way to be able to, break that break the phishing that can lead to, and not phishing, but break the catfishing that can lead to, the other phrase out there is pig butchering, but it's where it's basically relationship fraud, where someone comes along and pretends to be something. It builds up a relationship, attempts to earn trust when none is earned, none should be shared, and then uses it to steal in general, or worse for children. So starting there, that's a useful thing. But even past that, you can post these stickers into your profile. A lot of them block QR codes, but you can put up the jab codes still. So those should be able to go through and, be able to, let people know right off the bat that your account is not a bot, from the get-go. And that is, I think, a really valuable thing for, making people feel more comfortable that in approaching you.
Oh, that makes sense. Ken, there's a comment from Jake Schmidt, and he said he doesn't have a question, but he appreciates what you're doing and says that humanity needs this product. I mean, that's high praise
I
and
agree.
well deserved. There is another question, which is, so I put up this code, QR code, a JAP code. Why can't somebody just take a picture of that and then start using it as their identity moving forward?
So the key thing about a sticker is that it is a signed message, right? So there's a message in there. You can then attach some number of credentials, like your name or the fact that you're over 18. I suspect, that those aren't going to get used as often for stickers as they will for other types of interactions using Notbot. But that message, like, that message and that signature will survive no matter how your content gets broken up into pieces. Like Twitter has to separate a thread into lots and lots of different small pieces, which then some people may see one piece and not the other. On YouTube, where your stream is going to get recoded 37 ways for different types of recipients, there isn't a digital signature that gets through there. So, okay, we have a QR code. You can scan it. The Notbot app opens, so it's a real Notbot app, a real Notbot code. It's worth mentioning that the data behind that QR code is encrypted, and the decryption key is in the sticker. And then the key item that's in there is a message. So, and that message, if it is appropriately descriptive, means that sticker, if it showed up somewhere else, would be clearly wrong, right? It's because even though the digital stream may change, it may be re-encoded or may have ads inserted or whatever, people will be able to recognize that it matches the description, right? So the whole thing with Sanjay Gupta recently spending a minute and a half on CNN saying that a deep fake was not him.
Right.
That's that would not be necessary if the video, if his videos consistently had a sticker on them that described what the video was and included his signature. Okay, well, now I see one that doesn't include his signature, doesn't include a sticker from him. Okay, now I know to be suspicious. Sanjay signs his stuff. This isn't signed. Why not? Oh, okay. And then it's a simple statement for him saying anything from me that isn't signed isn't real. Done. And he doesn't have to do 10,000 different minute and a half descriptions of how it is that it's not him.
Right. So just to clarify, and I want to make sure that the question is fully answered, it's not just the QR code, it's a QR code plus the signature that completes the proof of identity?
Right. The signature and the message are both sort of encapsulated in that QR code.
Sorry, Ken, then I get that. I guess one, I would just want to make sure is that the question that was asked, you feel not you, but the person asking the question feels that
Hmm.
it's answered. But if that QR code that Dr. Sanjay Gupta has,
Hmm.
I were to take a picture and put it on my, stuff that I create, how do they know it's not uh, Dr. Gupta?
Um, you don't look like Dr. Gupta. So so we can
No, but
start
if
there. So
I created a fake profile that made it look like him.
so there's a notion of what's called a verified creator badge, right? So
Mhm,
the verified creator badge, you know, you post somewhere like a social media somewhere where you the actual digital identity that you're claiming, and then we can issue a badge saying that this identity or this alias
mhm,
in Not.Bot speak belongs to that verified creator, or the same person who also owns that social media account. So at that point, anybody who scans it will get, in bright colors, a clear label. This is Sanjay Gupta,
mhm.
and we'll be able to say, okay, that really is that person. Whereas somebody with some other account would never be able to have the same badge attached.
Right. Okay. Um, Ken, are you able to see the questions as well?
I see one question in the Zoom chat.
Uh,
Um,
there's also a question. There's a question from Aaron who's asking if it gets modified by re-encoding, but the signature survives, how do you not, do you read that? Sorry. Uh, how do you not defeat the new YouTube short where the AI upscale and it doesn't even look right?
so um, one of the things, well, for YouTube Shorts, it's just a matter of getting the QR code in there in a way that survives the transit to someone else. The QR codes are really, really robust, right? It's just black and white. It's
Mm-hmm.
giant square blocks. It's got the big finder squares in the corners. They've got error correction built in. So even distorting it lengthwise or widthwise, rotating it in strange ways, a lot of those things, a QR code will survive, and
Mm-hmm.
the data inside of it is just a reference. It is basically a reference to where to go get the real data,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a decryption key to be able to decrypt that data once you receive it. And then it's really what the data you would receive after fetching the data and decrypting it. That's where the message and the signed message resides.
Got it. Got it. Um, I think that's all the questions we have.
All right.
Um, you know me well enough that I don't like people to stay on if
Yeah.
there's nothing else to discuss. What would you like to say in closing?
Well, I mean, it's the key thing I want to let everybody know is, of course, it's early days. It's so early days that the app isn't even in the app store yet. We're definitely looking for feedback, and there's a huge amount more that we can do. We're not remotely stopping at stickers. You know, help us promote this. Make sure that we get stickers out in the world, use them everywhere, talk to people about using them. Help us get everywhere, and help us talk about how we protect privacy. Right? It's the message that we are one of the only tech companies who literally stores no data, who's put a huge amount of engineering effort into not knowing anything about our users. We have to, there's a hurdle there, right? You want to scan my passport. Okay, that's a hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, help us clear that hurdle, help people understand. No, Notbot really doesn't store your data. It's actually safe to use. We've put a huge amount of effort into making sure that's true. So I hope we can get that message out, and we can get people onboarded, and hopefully people will recognize this as a better way to prove they're human than having their eyeballs scanned.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Ken, for taking the time. Appreciate it. Thank you for everyone that joined. And I'm sure you will be hearing from Ken more soon. Thanks,
Awesome.
everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone.